Hello and welcome to the show. Today I've got a challenge on Forza 5, and it is that I wanted to try and get around the Nurburgring in under 8 minutes using a front-wheel drive car. Now in real life, only 2 vehicles have done this. The latest generation Seat Leon Cupra, I believe, and the latest Renault Megane Cup RS Super version. Neither of which are in Forza 5. There is a Megane, but it's the wrong version. So whatever I was going to do, something was going to have to be modified. And if I was going to have to tinker around with the car, I thought I might as well use a hot hatch that I really quite like. Hence why we have got this Ford Focus. Probably my favourite, certainly my favourite of the modern hot hatches in terms of speed and power. And I just kind of quite like this car. And I thought that if I was actually going to do the 8-minute lap time, this was the vehicle to use. So I set off driving the car standard around the Nurburgring. And, well, I can't do it. I do not have the skill. Maybe somebody could, but I don't think the standard Focus RS will get around the Nurburgring in 8 minutes. I think I did a couple of laps and I did an 8:21. Now with a lot more practice I could probably get that lap time down, maybe to sort of an 8:11, 8:12-ish at the very, very best. But I can't knock off 21 seconds off of that time. There is just no chance I can do it within a realistic sort of time frame. I'm not even sure the standard RS actually could. So it was time to do some upgrading on this car. I think it's the first one, certainly the first one I've extensively had to modify. I say extensively, kind of extensively modified. The Focus is now running sport brakes, sport suspension, sport anti-roll bars front and rear, and the sport weight reduction. Sorry. Now I kind of came to the... Oh, and sport tyres. Sorry, I completely forgot about that. Kind of important. I believe the Seat and the Renault's tyre were both set on the super sticky, barely road legal racing tyres. I seem to remember that's correct. So yeah, got sport tyres on here. They're quite a significant part really of the car. But everything on this is road legal, and I would say that all of the parts that have gone on here are fairly sensible in terms of a high-performance hot hatch. I know the Focus RS to start with is a pretty damn high-performance vehicle, but if you were to make a hotter version of it, if you like, they're the sort of things that would be fairly easy to sort out, or the sort of things that would come with a special edition of it from the manufacturer, if you like. I opted to keep the engine as standard in this car though. It is running with the standard 300 horsepower, 318 torque engine, which is pretty damn powerful for a front-wheel drive hot hatch anyway. It's one of the most powerful there is out there, so I opted to keep the engine as it was. And this is quite a nice car, I have to say. I did quite enjoy driving the Focus around here. It's a nice, solid, very, very consistent. It's a very reliable car. When I get to a corner and turn in, I know what this vehicle is going to do. As I said, I took some of the weight out. It's just under the £3,000 mark. It's quite a nice, agile little hot hatch. It's got plenty of acceleration and plenty of grip through the corners. Yes, it is front-wheel drive. Yes, you will notice the understeer when you are pushing the car, and you will see it at various points throughout this video with me just lighting the front wheels up a little bit through some of the higher speed corners. But in all honesty, it's not particularly hard to drive. It's like the understeer is not noticeable 95% of the time. It's certainly very easily manageable as well. If it does start understeering a little bit, it's really not that much of a problem. Brakes are very good on this car as well, I have to say. I was impressed with it. It got stopped very quickly into all of the corners. There are a couple of downsides to this vehicle. First of all, I think this may be a front-wheel drive thing more than anything else. However, when you're under braking coming into a corner, if the back wheel goes a little bit too far over the curb and is slightly on the grass as you turn in, it doesn't like that. It really doesn't like that. I had a number of occasions where I was trying to make the most of a corner, trying to use all of the available track, just strayed a little bit too far. Had a wheel on the grass as I went to turn in, and it kicked the back end out of the car no end. So you've got to be aware of that. You can sometimes get away with that in a rear-wheel drive car. In this, it was quite touchy on that. So you had to be very, very careful with it. The plus side, though, is that curbs aren't a problem. With this being a front-wheel drive vehicle, at least I'm assuming that's what it is. The curbs here are absolutely no problem for the Focus. I could run over all the curbs that I liked. Didn't really have a significant effect. It didn't have the same sort of try and throw you at a wall like it has done with a lot of the supercars. Also the fact that this is a bit more of a hot hatch, perhaps a slightly higher ride height than some of the supercars and hypercars I've raced around here before. But yeah, curbs were not a problem. The other downside is the straight line speed is not quite there, in all honesty. And let's face it, there are quite a lot of straights here at Nurburgring. In reality, I didn't get it above 150 miles an hour around this track, and for most of the long straights you're doing sort of 130, 140. It's not particularly quick in a straight line. When we compare it to a similar car, I think this car with PI is a 501, so it's just into B class. The NSX that I had around here did a 7 minutes 55, I believe, and this should be easy in theory if you go by the PI system. This is a little bit higher than the NSX. The NSX is 20-25 miles an hour quicker in a straight line and very good through the corners. This just doesn't have that straight line speed. It makes it a bit of a pain, because that means you have got to carry so much corner speed. If you're going to get that under an 8-minute lap with this car, there is no room for error at all. You have got to carry as much corner speed as you possibly can with this vehicle. You have got to be... I found that you have to be on the limit. There is absolutely... like, with a lot of these cars, sure, I'm pushing them as hard as I bloody can. In this thing, it has got to be the perfect lap if I'm going to get it under 8 minutes. I think there were about 10 or 12 laps I did between the 8-minute .4 and the 8-minute .9 range. That's how much time it took to do this. Is one of these that I knew it could do it, but you have got to get it perfect. You've got to get it absolutely flat out around all of these corners, because the minute you get on that long straight towards the end of the lap, you lose so much time. I would imagine this is quite a bit up on the NSX coming onto the long straight, but it loses so much time down the straight, struggling to get to 140. Yeah. It is. It's a bit of a pain. It made this a very big challenge. You can see how hard I was pushing this car around here. There was nothing left in it. I couldn't get it around this track any faster than I did in the end. But it was a nice car to drive through, as you saw, through those sequence of corners there. Once you get it right, it's very rewarding to have got it right in this car. It is a nice car. It's a nice handling vehicle. As I said, brakes are very sharp. It gets stopped in a hurry. It has some decent acceleration out of each of the corners. It's that lack of straight line speed. I mean, you can carry decent speed through a lot of these heavens. One of the early corners that I often use to measure speed out, this would carry 130 miles an hour through there. You know, your hypercars. I think the McLaren. What did the McLaren P1 do? 160 through that corner. You know, it's got decent corner. It can carry a lot of corner speed, considering what it is, but it lacks the horsepower. It lacks the straight line speed. This is certainly the least powerful of the cars that we've had, and certainly not as aerodynamical as, say, a Honda NSX. So the lacking of the straight line speed down this bit here really does hurt it. It doesn't help that this is uphill as well. So it's all the way up the hill the car is struggling. If you wanted to keep it going quick, you had to rev the nuts off it. It spent a lot of time at the very high end of the rev range to try and get any speed out of this car. We come to the final section. Again, it's good through here. You could jump on the brakes nice and late, carry good corner speed through the chicanes, and then just be neat and tidy and don't throw everything away as we come around the final corner and head towards the line. Enjoyable driving this car, a pain in the arse beating the lap time. I did it eventually. After an awful lot of trying, I managed to get a 7 minutes 59.7 out of this car, and I cannot go quicker. I can't do it. I know I went off on the grass at one point on that run. I was a little bit wide on perhaps a couple of corners. I can't go much quicker than that. I genuinely don't think. I'm sure there are people out there who can, but I can't. I spent a good while over the course of about 3 days. I've been trying to do that lap. It finally came together. God, it was a pain though. I did do it. I've got around the Nurburgring in under 8 minutes with a front-wheel drive car. The lap time's not as quick as the Seat or the Megane actually did in real life. There's some monsters of a lap to get around that quickly. I can't go any quicker with the Focus, certainly not with the upgrades that it has. It was a nice car to drive. I certainly did enjoy it, driving it around. It's a good fun racing vehicle, this one. But that lap was quite infuriating, trying to beat it. But I got there in the end after much perseverance. Anyway, that is it from me with the Focus. If you would like to see the onboard footage, I will be putting that up after I finish talking. You can watch through that. If not, then that is it. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. And until next time, goodbye.